Welcome in, Big Blue Nation, to another episode of the Cats Talk podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Johnston. He is your host, Tyler Britton, and we're joined along with Jacob Boyers once again for another basketball podcast. Kentucky starts off the Mark Pope era 1-0, first game that officially counts in the books. And how fitting is it? Kentucky wins by 41 points, Mark Pope's old number. Tyler, are you as excited as I am? Just everything seems to be going in line, just how you could draw it up.
Yeah, Cam, it's definitely exciting to have basketball back, and seeing what Mark Pope can put down on the court here. Excited to see what we can do for the rest of the season here. Obviously, started off strong against Wright State Wildcats, scoring double digits in the contest here, with Ortega scoring 21 of those points. Felt like we had a really good rapport down the field here. Jacob, what did you see on your end here?
Yeah, love the game. Went as probably as well as I think the opener could have went to start the Mark Pope era. Scored 100 points. Jackson Robinson didn't even really play all that well offensively, just 8 points. Tell me that going into the game, I think they probably struggle a little bit offensively, but I think we're really seeing just how balanced this team is. 18 off the bench from Berea, as you mentioned, Otegwe with 21. Really liked what we saw from the guards, and then the big men with Amari and Andrew Carr both getting in double digits.
Yeah, I think the big men are just exactly what they were built up to be in the offseason. I mean, Amari Williams is kind of like that. He's like a point center. I mean, he had 3 assists in this game. He was leading the ball up the floor, kind of like a. Obviously, I don't want to compare him to Nikola Jokic because his game isn't really like that, but just in that way where he can push the ball once he gets a rebound like that. And both guys have incredible court vision. Andrew Carr the same. He had 3 assists as well in this game. I mean, the only part of these big men that I'm kind of concerned about is when Amari Williams goes to the bench and we need a rebounder. I'm not sure if Andrew Carr or Brandon Garrison are going to be at a spot where they can take that role as of right now. And that's really the only thing I took away from this Wright State game that I can think of as a negative, especially going forward when we get to bigger and more physical teams like we'll talk about with Bucknell with their 7-footer from Latvia. So I think that's what we're looking for, looking into next week. But I'm not sure, Boyers, what you were thinking about that, how you thought about the team's rebounding as of now.
Yeah, I think Garrison can become that, right? McDonald's All-American, obviously, uber talented. It's just, will he be physical enough? We'll wait and see. Hopefully he can develop into that. Kind of like we mentioned on the last pod, I think we got some pretty solid rebounding guards that really help. But yeah, just 2 rebounds for Carr, 4 for Garrison, and then 13 for Amari. So definitely got to find a way to substitute some rebounding in there when Amari goes to the bench.
Yeah, especially on the offensive side of the ball, we definitely need to get some more offensive rebounds. I think we had 4 in this game, and 4 against the Wright State team that you're expected to win by 20 plus. I mean, we've got to start to be able to, assert our dominance down low in the paint. And that's my biggest red flag for this team so far in a very limited sample size. Listen to Pope's press conference from before the Bucknell game earlier today, and he said he wanted to be right at that 30%, offensive rebounding clip. And right now we're nowhere near that. So I think that's kind of what he's looking for, especially going up against Bucknell here soon. But like you said, the guards do rebound really well. We got very willing rebounders for guys Lamont Butler had 5 rebounds in this game. I mean, outside of that, everybody else had, Ortega had 3, Jackson Robinson had 5. So, you got guys that are willing. It's just I'm getting a little concerned about the physicality aspect without Amari Williams on the floor. Hopefully the guards can help him out in that way, but I do think I don't want to say it because it's a little early, but I do think Andrew Carr might be a liability when it comes to that end.
Yeah, you're definitely. I think it takes away from my hope coming into the year where you would play Carr at the 5 a lot. I do think that that's going to be tougher with rebounding. When Amari goes out, I think you're going to have either Amari Williams or Garrison in there at all times. So my dream of playing a pure 5 shooter, stretch 5 and Andrew Carr, I think that's just going to be a little tougher just because of rebounding.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, the way the season started out, if he's not rebounding against, Wright State and Minnesota State, Mankato, I mean, he's not going to rebound against, Gonzaga, Duke, and the likes of those. But transitioning off of that, I mean, what more can we say about Otega Owe? He was 8 for 9 during this game, 3 for 3 from 3, 21 points, 3 boards, 2 assists, and he's been a lockdown defender. I really didn't know what to expect coming from him, coming from Oklahoma. He's kind of the least talked about guy of the group. Pope mentions all these guys in the offseason, so much so that everybody kind of gets lost in their own legs. He gives them so much shine individually. But I can't think of a better way for him to start his college career here at Kentucky.
Absolutely. Been obviously a huge bright spot of the team so far. I mean, if he's giving you 21, obviously I don't expect that to continue for the whole year. But if he's giving you 21 and with what he can give you on the defense, I mean, is there a world where at the end of the year we're talking about him being our best player for the season?
I mean, if he keeps up scoring 21 points a game and he's shooting 100% from 3, I definitely think he'll be our best player, especially with the way he plays lockdown defense on the perimeter. It's a great backcourt right now that we've got going, just 1 through 3. You've got lockdown defender with Lamont Butler, who can pass the ball well, rebounds well, like we had just talked about. And then you got Jackson Robinson, who is your traditional scorer, only had 8 in this game. If you tell me, like you said earlier, he scores 8 points, we somehow find a way to win by 41. I mean, that's the good thing about this team is I don't think there's ever so much stress and importance on having the guy, because there's always guys that can fill up and take that role. And then having Otega as another lockdown guy who, as of right now, is making about everything that he takes. He had 3 steals again last night or on Monday night. Right now, I'm really confident 1 through 3 what this team is, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they transition moving forward, especially not looking past Bucknell on Saturday, but that Duke game on Tuesday, of course, is going to get a lot of eyes on it.
Yeah, definitely. And you talk about the 1 through 3, and then when you put one of those guys on the bench, you're bringing in maybe the best 3-point shooter in the whole country. So, I mean, the opportunities for these guards on this team is endless. Talked about Otegwa going 100%. Kobe Barea did too, 4 for 4 from behind the arc. Turning around before they go in, he was feeling it. It was awesome.
Yeah, what about Kerr Kriisa having a wide open layup and passing it out to Kobe Brea for a 3 where he turns around before it goes through?
Love it.
That describes Mark Pope basketball as giving up, what is consistently, you would say a great shot for. I mean, when is Kobe Brea shooting that, like you said, the nation's best 3-point shooter last year? Kind of started off slow the first 2 exhibition games, but I mean, granted those stats didn't count. So right now he's 100% for his Kentucky career. That was great to see. Good to see him get going. And what about Kerr? Hasn't been mentioned. He was 0 for 2 in this game. I mean, 5 assists and 1 steal in 12 minutes. I mean, he was all over the place. And I think that's a guy that, especially, say Lamont or Otega get into foul trouble, having him coming off the bench, having started so many games, it's such a plus in depth that we're not traditionally used to with Calipari teams.
Yeah, he's not a guy that, I think's ever going to really fill up the stat column, but, I did love it. It kind of feels like when he gets in the game, he's just going 110%. He is, the tempo, it feels like, changes, and this is a team that's, always playing pretty up-tempo, but I felt like the vibes just kind of shift when he's got the ball in his hand compared to Lamont Butler. So I think that's the great thing about this team is, you can play so many different ways, and you have so many different pieces that no matter who you have out there, you can play a lot of different styles.
Yes, speaking on Lamont, I mean, he had a terrific game, and what did he miss? 2 to 3 easy bunnies. He missed he missed the easy dunk. Looks like I don't know. He was expecting some height hops from maybe his freshman year when he's a little bit more bouncy, or
mistimed it just a hair.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was going on there, but I mean, even that being said, he still shot 50% from the floor, had 14 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. And you almost didn't necessarily feel that presence except for on the defensive side of the ball. And to have a stat line like that, we can come to expect that week in, week out. We got to get better about finishing at the rim. But if we can have that consistency from Lamont, at that point guard spot with the defensive role that he plays on this team, I don't think we can ask much more from him on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and that's kind of the stat line I expect him to put up for most of the year, right? Like 10-ish points, and then 5 assists, five rebounds, and then there's going to be a lot of games where he's right there with 4 or 5 steals too.
Yeah, I definitely feel like we need to get him a little bit more comfortable with that 3-point shot. It's not I think he shot, 34% last year at San Diego State. So we know it's there. It hasn't really been falling since, he's put on that Kentucky blue jersey yet. Hopefully we get that going. Hopefully tomorrow against Bucknell is to start to change that trend.
Yeah, we're all excited to see what's been down the court for Game 1 here. Speaking of which, now the Cats are now 8-0 and a head coach's debut, dating back to Adolph Rupp's first game back in 1930. Also on that note, Coach Pope, 7 seasons in a row now, winning his home opener. Guys, how do we feel about Mark Pope coming in and the vibes that he's sending to the team and the fans of Kentucky here?
I believe he's shown, a style that's fitting to modern basketball. Like just in this game alone against Wright State, we took, looks like 7 mid-range shots as opposed to 24 threes. That's just something that we haven't seen here in Lexington for quite some time. And that's a system that Pope's been working with, him and Cody Feger, especially the offensive mind with Pope. They've been working on, crunching the numbers throughout this entire offseason, trying to figure out, what gives them the best chance to win with this group of guys, which is why I think Pope is going to be successful here. He doesn't have, a cookie cutter, I do this, you come here, you do this regardless. No, he gets, guys that are going to fit his system. And then once he gets them in here and learns a little bit more about them, he kind of changes that mold, gets them going for that. So I think, gets me excited, especially to see, a 41-point win against a team that, granted, it's not a great team, but you're not expecting to beat any team by 41, especially when it's your home debut. Usually there's a little nerves in there, especially for Pope and how much, those kids played for him. You could see it after the game, they gave him a little bourbon barrel head, says, coach's first win, all that stuff, and they were celebrating with him after the locker room, throwing water on him, stuff like that. You can see that these guys just thoroughly enjoy playing for Coach Pope, and it's something that's good to see. It's good to see how much they play for him, and they kind of play for the name on the front of their jersey as opposed to the name on the back. So it's really refreshing to see. Jacob, what do you think about how Mark's kind of gotten his new system in here and how it's going through the first official game and then the 2 exhibitions as well?
Yeah, and I'll touch back even to the off season. Pretty much once he got hired, I think Pope has killed it since becoming the UK head coach. There's not one thing I could knock him for in terms of if you're giving out gradings, right? He's done an A+ job from the first time he spoke to that introductory press conference. Talking about how important this means, is to him, and how every game we're gonna go out there and try to win, and we're gonna try to win the SEC tournament. And from day one, he's killed it, right? And then you started thinking, hopefully he can recruit. We're starting to see some signs of that. And then it was just, okay, we got to win. Now, obviously, it's one game. It's Wright State. But the game, to how we've talked already, went as well as I think you could have expected and hoped. And as of yet, he's yet to have a blemish, I think, on that record.
We just got a new recruit, Caden Lewis. Cam, why don't you tell us a little bit about him?
Yeah, Caden Lewis, 6'2" guard from Sidwell Friends, up there near you, Tyler, up in Washington, D.C. Lefty guard. It's going to be kind of weird having a lefty backcourt joining Jasper Johnston, both of them being lefties. I don't know the last time UK had that, or just teams in general having 2 lefties in the backcourt. But getting him on, beat UConn for him, beat Virginia, beat Georgetown out for him. So it was a good get on the recruiting cycle. And it's Pope's, first out-of-state commitment that he's gotten. So it was good to see that, he could stretch the borders past Kentucky, go out to a place that we don't really recruit that often in Washington, D.C., go out there and land at Caden Lewis.
Enough about the next year's freshman. Let's talk about this year's freshman. Boyers, why don't you tell us a little bit about the freshman we saw on the court on Monday here?
Yeah, probably the one, not so great spot, but, not sure how much you really expected out of, Trent Noah and Travis Berry. I think they're kind of your 11th and 12th man coming into the season. I know a lot of people from Kentucky were hoping they'd be big contributors. I was a little disappointed in Colin Chandler, but I think it just shows like these freshmen are going to look like freshmen against next to 23, some 24-year-olds on this team. Like we have grown men playing this year, and freshmen are going to look even more like freshmen. We got to get kind of out of that Calipari mindset, at least for this year. Maybe next year it'll be a little different. But what were your thoughts on that, Cam?
And speaking just on Colin Chandler, I think he's still kind of getting his legs underneath him. He played 14 minutes in this game. I mean, he only took one shot. He missed it. He was 2 of 2 from the free throw line. 2 points, 2 assists, and a steal. So he did affect the games in other ways. I think he's still trying to find his footing, especially in this offense, because I don't think he's as comfortable in his three-point shot as he was, coming off of that 2-year mission that he was on. So I think he'll grow throughout the entire season. I think that's kind of what you're hoping for. I think that'll be kind of one of the X factors that'll take you. We'll see if that takes you from, potential Sweet 16 team to an Elite 8 team if he takes that jump. I think him and Brandon Garrison are probably the biggest X factors on this team when it comes to being able to take our ceiling to a new level. And then talking about, the other 2 freshmen and Trent Noah and Travis Perry, like you said, we have to get out of this mindset that, all freshmen are coming in and they're going to play 20 minutes a game or 30 minutes a game and they're going to be the offense. These guys, like you can just tell when they're on the court, they're not ready for, NCAA basketball at the moment. Their bodies just aren't ready. You can see it. Not that these guys are out of shape by any means. I mean, they work harder than probably anybody that's out there trying to get some time on the court. But you can just tell just by looking at Trent Noah and Travis Perry, they're just not ready for this type of ball yet. And, I feel like we got to stop with this narrative that they're from Kentucky, they've got to play. Let them grow, let them develop. That's kind of the staple of, Kentucky history, how it was built on. It was guys, staying around, not playing much their freshman year, developing in their sophomore and development in their junior year. And then that's when they play, that's when they show up. And then, next thing you know, we're looking at Travis Perry, he had a 4-year Kentucky career, and we're looking back and, man, he really developed over his time. And we're thinking about this 4 years later and look at him. And now he's a really good player. So I think we have to, as a fan base, kind of get out of that way of thinking, like you said. But, I mean, it's still fresh. We're only 1 game into the system, so getting out of the freshmen, the fab freshmen that Cal always had coming in. Got to get out of that way of thinking.
And to your point of, Kentucky guys, these guys are at a disservice because of how good Reed Shepherd was last year, right? Everybody's expecting the next 2 Kentucky kids to be the next Reed Shepherd. These guys could have very promising careers here, like Dominique Hawkins and Derek Willis. We saw those 2 sit the bench for 2 years, and then, both were huge contributors for some pretty good teams. So I think we just, got to condition what our expectations are of those 2 this season.
Yeah, Reed definitely set the ceiling there when he came in and had the season that he did. But Reed was also, he might not look like it, but he's an incredible athlete. He had the highest vertical jump at the NBA draft combine. With that mustache that he's rocking now and everything that he's got going, he might not look like that type of athlete, but he is. And I just don't think Travis Perry and Trent Noah are on that level yet. Granted, they're still 18 years old, so they got time to mature and time to develop. And hopefully, we're talking about this at the end of the year. And, injuries and stuff happen. So, like, Kerr didn't start the season, there's going to be times where we're going to need these guys. So you're not trying to ruin anybody's confidence by not letting them play. But you also can't just give out charity minutes like I think a lot of Kentucky fans are looking for right now.
Yeah, well, let me bounce back the question to you, Cam, then. How do you feel like you should be using these freshman athletes on the court, make sure they're still getting the reps in, but not getting the freelance time at the end of the game when we're up by 40? How do you use a freshman to really build his confidence and get him ready for competition down the road?
I think you kind of do exactly what Mark Pope did. He got him the minutes that he could at the end of the game. He also said, everything, they take a bunch of analytics into the seeding now for the NCAA tournament. So we can't just, we got a 20-point lead, we can throw in all of our backups and let these guys get time. Some of these, point differentials could be the difference between us getting a 4 seed and a potential 3 seed. And that's kind of something that Mark Pope has talked to during the offseason. So just getting the minutes at the end of the game, I think, is more than enough. They're practicing every day with all of these guys. They're playing with them. And especially this Wright State team, they're practicing against better players every day than they were playing against Wright State. So, I think he did about as good as a job as he could have, even though he's kind of taking a little bit of flack from Kentucky fans at the moment.
Boyers, do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Like to Cam's point, there's not. We've talked about it how good this backcourt is defensively. Like, what's going to get you more ready than going up against Lamont Butler and Otegwa every single day? The game minutes are nice because they get their moment, but that'll come. We can't be putting them in just because they're from Kentucky and we want to see the Kentucky boys do well. They'll have their moment here. They'll get better every single day going up against those guards.
Yeah, exactly. To that point, I mean, we have 4 guards that are in front of them that are all seniors, redshirt seniors, graduate seniors. I mean, there's just so much experience on this team. I think it'd be kind of a disservice to, put them in there and expect a lot of minutes from them this early in the season. It's good to get them out there. Hopefully their progression continues.
Yeah, gentlemen, why don't we switch over to our matchup against Bucknell coming up here. Cam, I know you love this stat. The matchup predictor on ESPN is 97.6%. Kentucky obviously favored that. I think the big guy here to really look out for is Josh Basco. Warriors, why don't you go ahead and share your preview here for the game?
Yeah, Tyler, for me, the big thing is I just don't want to see like a big regression coming up for before the Duke game. I'm going to be honest with you. Don't know much about Bucknell, but like this is a team Kentucky should take care of business. Want to kind of continue to see what we've seen offensively. Not that like if they don't score 100, I'm going to be thoroughly disappointed. But I just keep momentum going in the right direction. Build on some things, get ready for Tuesday night, kind of use this as, that last tune-up before your, first real action. Cam, you might be able to tell us a little more about Bucknell.
Yeah, Bucknell, I mean, there's not too much to say just because, there's only been one game in the season. I mean, they got Noah Williamson, 7-foot center from Latvia, averaging 25.5 points per game and 10.5 rebounds per contest. So, I mean, just keeping him off the glass, like we talked about earlier in the episode, the main problem spot I see for this team is going to be on the glass with Amari Williams not being on the floor. So I'm kind of looking to see, when Amari is off the court, to see who steps up in that role, see if Brandon can be that guy who controls all the rebounds. And let's see if Andrew Carr can't get a little bit more physical down low. Because of right now, I feel like that's going to be something that we're going to be looking forward to in this game, especially, with the big game coming up against Duke on Tuesday. And then Josh Basco, their guard, is averaging 16.5 points per game. He's been their number 2 option. But this team runs through Noah Williamson, their 7-footer from Latvia. Right now, they're scoring 80 points per game on 46% shooting from the field and 39% from 3. So they're a good 3-point shooting team. So, I mean, they're going to, from what I've heard, they're going to try and push the pace a little bit. It's not going to be, up and down the court like we are. But it's not going to be, like a Princeton offense where, they're just sitting there milking the clock the entire time. So that's what I'm looking for in the Bucknell game. I kind of want answers more that I can put towards the Duke test rather than answers to put towards the Bucknell test. Hopefully we go out there, win by 20, 25, feeling good. Like Pope said, he wants to see the offensive rebounding improve. Hopefully, rebounding in general takes a giant step this game, and we feel good going into that game in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, and like to my point, just don't take a step back because I'm already feeling really good about that Duke game. I am excited. 9:30 Tuesday night cannot get here soon enough for me. So just continue to kind of show what they've shown so far this season, and let's get ready to roll Tuesday.
Yeah, will you even be able to stay up that late? I know you got the young kids. Will they be asleep by then so you can be sitting and watching the game?
They'll be asleep. I'll probably nod off during the Kansas-Michigan State game and get a little rejolt. I stayed up too late last night watching our Bengals lose. So, but hopefully better vibes after at midnight on Tuesday.
Yeah, we definitely don't need to bring up that Bengals game anymore. I had to sit there and watch that. Unfortunately, I don't need to relive it anymore. But
you're telling me I was at the game.
Yeah,
you were probably there in purple, buddy.
No. I was in neutral colors.
Hopefully Kentucky answers some of those questions against Bucknell. I mean, I'm not sure what else you want to see from the team before they get that first test. So like you said, just don't take any steps back, make everything look clean. Don't turn the ball over a lot. Just take care of the ball. Get offensive rebounds, control the glass. I mean, that's how you win a lot of these games. Sometimes it's as simple as that. Don't turn the ball over and control the glass, and you have a chance to win the game. Especially the way we shoot the ball. If we do those little things like that with how we guard and how we defend, I feel like this team can go far, and I think we can do really well against Duke and Bucknell. Of course, don't want to look past Bucknell. I'm worried about who's going to be guarding Cooper Flagg, but at the same time, they've got to worry about guarding, 5 or 6 shooters that we can throw out on the court at any time as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I am gonna probably look a little past Bucknell. I'm pretty excited for that one Tuesday. So
I think most of Big Blue Nation is with you, but this game it's almost sold out for Bucknell. I think Kentucky games are almost always sold out, but you can't get them on the resale market. Game's on Saturday at Rupp Arena at 4 p.m. Tyler, you want to take us out of here?
Yeah, absolutely, Cam. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in today to join us for the Cats Talk podcast, talking about basketball here. We'll be here after every single game to break down what we saw during the game, what we think is going to turn out for the rest of the season here. Make sure to tune in. Make sure to tune in for some giveaways coming out soon. Again, my name is Tyler. You got Cam and Boyers. Thank you so much for joining us again here. Make sure to stay tuned, share with your friends and family, and we'll catch you guys soon. Go Big Blue.
Go Big Blue.